Hey guys, it's Tiny Tom Logan back with another video for you, and today we're going to be taking a look at the HAVN BF360. Now, HAVN, this is only their second case, but they are coming for the jugular of all of the high airflow cases with the 360. Targeting things like the Fractal Torrent, maybe even like the Cooler Master HAF. It's got kind of HAF in its name, but anything with a high airflow design, air cooling performance, this case wants to get them in the ring and beat them around. And they've made no, they've not been quiet about the fact that they do want to be the best with this case as well. So they've set the bar very, very high. Now, they do a version without fans for 139 GBP, and they do a version with fans for 169 GBP, and the fans that you get are two 180 millimeters in the front and 140 millimeter in the back. So some fairly massive fans, and they're saying massive airflow as well. But let's get busy, have a decent look around it, and then we'll talk about the performance at the end. We always start at the top and at the front, and today will be no different. So at the front, you actually have a really nice power button. It's slightly concave. You naturally find your way there. It's not one of these ones where everything is perfectly level and you're not sure whether you're getting the button or not. But no reset button on the front at all. Then you've got a couple of USB Type A's. You've got a USB Type C. It's all 3.2 Gen 2 as well. And then you've got a combined headphone and microphone port. Now, when you first get the case, I do want to say straight from the get-go that there are 4 screws that you'll want to remove. Here, 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 and here. You can see I've already removed them. If you don't remove them, the side panels won't come off, the top will not come off. I didn't realise this when I first got it because I just had a quick glance and I thought they were rivets. I am going to say right from the get-go as well, HAVN, please, I think these should have been thumb screws, just to make life very easy for those of us with that are tired or have been working, or let's face facts, haven't been paying attention, because I did nearly pull a bend in the roof because I was pulling on this so hard, not realising the screws had to come out. So yes, I was having a bit of a low intelligent moment, lower than normal, yes, it's fair to say, but if these had been thumb screws, it would have been incredibly obvious. They were just normal Phillips screws that you would have everywhere else, and it all kind of blended in, and that's the reason why I've left them out, so I can make it blatantly obvious. 1, 2, 3, 4, remove them the moment you get it out of the box. Now we've done the public service announcement, and now we will move on to the roof, which has a very fine dust filter in it, and there are certain parts of this as well. So this whole top panel can be removed, but there are little rubber grommets to help with vibrations and stuff as well. But this whole roof section can come out and be removed completely, so it becomes open frame. You still need it in there to be able to mount your fans and everything, but it just means that it can be made a lot easier for you to build the rig with it and get all your cooling in there as well. Everything is pretty lovely with really snappy magnets, so it's just such a joy to do and pull and pop. And it's just really nice. These are little pop clips. There's lots of magnets on the top, magnets on the front as well. They're just so nice. Again, nice meshing on the front. There is a slide in the reviewer's guide for this to show you that they went through loads of different designs for the meshing in the front with these little sort of ovals. And there was only a 3 CFM difference, but it does go to show you how much effort they went to make sure that they were eking as much performance out of this case as possible. Now it does come with 2 of the H18 fans fitted in the front. You can buy these separately. They do 140s and 120s as well. There is a 140 in the back fitted actually, but this section here is a blank for if you did want to fit 140s or 120s in the front. If you do want to do that, you do need to buy a separate pack for the mounts. I'm torn on how I feel about that, if I'm honest. I do think that you should just get it in the box. But it is available. It does come with the normal version. So you get a version called the Flow with the fans. You get a version without the fans. That does come with the mounts. So I guess if you're buying the version with these already in, you don't need them. But still, you know, I think if you're upgrading with the fans, you should have still got the brackets. But, you know, that's just one of the small things that has bothered me ever so slightly. One of the things I will say about the front as well is this is quite a textured front panel, as you'll see, and it is actually textured as well. So if you were to run your finger over it, it isn't completely smooth. There's a bit of a touch to it, but the HAVN logo in silver at the bottom does stand out rather lovely and catch the light at certain times and look amazing. So it's starting to look like they've put an awful lot of effort into the design phase of this. And the build quality really does match up with it as well. But round to the back, we have a lower fan grill for the PSU, and there is a little section underneath where you can see it's cut out of the bottom of the case, which is quite a nice factor as well. I'm quite a dragger when it comes to my cases. I kind of move them around the workshop and drag them, and I have found a couple of times I have been able to pull the rubber off of the which are the feet basically, but they do push on, so back on, well, eventually anyway, like that. But one of the things I was going to say to HAVN is maybe in future make these screw feet slightly wider or make the hole slightly smaller, because I have still been able to drag them off. Like I've said though, you can push them back on, and it's only really if you don't lift the case up and you drag it around. Now around the back, lots of airflow around the back. So you've got a large section up here, which is where the air from the side of your graphics card can normally vent, especially with the blower sort of style ones, but it's just another place for the air to pass through. Obviously we have a lot of airflow coming through the back, and it's not all going to get sucked out through the fans. Grommets up here for 140mm fan, which with the model when you buy the fan, so the Flow, it comes with a 140 fitted, but you do have mounts here for 120s as well. And then there's a large area up here again above to aid airflow on the way up and out. It is a very sturdy case. It's not made of cheap thin material. It is not a Flow 4000. Round the back, lots for us to talk about in reality. There is a duct here, which you'll see on the inside later, for where the airflow is pulled in the front and then shot up towards your graphics card. So you've got kind of like a ramp section here. If it was a NZXT, we would definitely be calling it the toilet fan. One of the things I would like to say though is it's all just, the design is very simple, but it's also very effective. You've got a cavernous amount of room down here for you to be able to stash cables. You're not going to be able to see it from the top. So if you've got I'm not saying that there's going to be many of you out there that have, but if you've got a power supply that's non-modular, it's not going to matter. If you've got a massive power supply, like a 1600 watt or something, and it's a lot longer, you're still going to have ample room down here, and there's plenty of room for you to be able to tuck cables. Talking about tucking cables, they've pretty much thought of everything, because you've got some guided channels up and around the outside of the motherboard tray, which I've used as best as I've been able to with the system that we've got in it. But there's ample channels and ways around. There's also some guides for the actual grommets, and I've just managed to pull that one off, but they do just pop back on nice and simply. As you can see, I've done it with one hand. There is another, this here is a support for the graphics card, which I'll show you on the other side. But you do have mounts for 2.5-inch hard drives down the side, 3.5-inch hard drives down the side if you want them. If you don't, and you don't like it, you can just pull these off and you could use this area up here for more cabling or stashing like controllers and such like, if you wanted to, from any of the manufacturers. But talking of controllers, there is up in this top left hand corner a PWM controller. So there's a SATA connector that you plug in, and then there's a fan header that you can plug in somewhere, and it will control them all the same. Now, one of the things I do want to say is with the Flow model, they connect all three of the fans to this, but the fans are actually different speeds. So the 180s in the front go up to 1200 RPM, the 140 in the back goes up to 1600 RPM, so you can't match the fans by the RPM. It's going to be done on a percentage basis, and that's just something to keep in mind. It's also why, for my testing, I've had to remove the 140 and plug the two 140s that I have fitted in separately, because I need to fix my fan RPMs. As you'll see in the testing later on, we fix our RPMs to 1000 RPM for one of the runs, and that allows us to keep things fair when comparing to other cases. But that's why I've had to do it. You might not matter at home. You can plug them all into this and keep things all nice and simple. Large motherboard cutout area, all lovely, lovely. Nice grommets above the top. Very simple for us to get an 8-pin through. I didn't think that would ever be a thing that I would be pointing out as being a positive, but lately we've had cases where I've not been able to cleanly get even an 8-pin through in the top of the case. This was so simple, it was wonderful, and if anything, there was an extra hole at the top for me to bring the rear cables, the rear fans and the top fan cable through as well. So it just made life spectacularly easy. Round to the business side of the case, and we'll pop the side panel off. It is not a tinted glass. There is a small piece of metal around the outside. And as I have said before, you can remove this side section to make it all open if you want, but you don't have to. Anyway, the main event on the inside of the case is going to be the, we've got to say it because we've taken the mickey out of the other brands, it is the toilet fan. Now, they did do a lot of testing with the angle of this to make sure that the air was directed and caused minimal airflow issues, but also heat movement to make sure that you weren't getting any heat build up. Those two 180mm fans in the front go up to 1200 RPM. One of the things I will say though is you are going to want to run them a lot slower than you may think. 1000 RPM to me doesn't sound particularly fast, but you can run these at such a low RPM and they still move a crazy amount of air and still perform really well as well. Now, as you can see, it's all quite simplistic. Very plain power supply cover. It looks all clean and lovely. You do have some guides over here, and you do get more of these in the package, like in your box, so that you can add more over here if you want, but it's just such a nice and simple design. I do think that it might have been nicer if they could have had them to be a little bit more firm rather than being so springy, because as you can see here, I've only put the front panel header and a fan cable through, and they do still move, so you end up wanting to tweak your cables a lot just so that they don't open up so bad. As you can see down the side and up there, they do open and move up a fair bit. Right, so one of the things I do want to say is it comes with the 140 fitted in the back. I've added a single 140 in the back in the roof because I know for this configuration that that's optimal for my airflow. You can obviously add more in, add an AIO because there's ample room in the roof. You can get 3 120s in the roof. You can get two 240s. Two 140s or two 180s in the roof. You can also, like I've said, if you buy the Flow, you get two 180s in the front. If you buy the normal fanned or fanless case, you can put two 180s, three 140s or three 120s in the front. They say, because I have asked, if you obviously buy this version, you're probably not going to worry about fitting different fans, so that's why they don't send it with the bracket. So I do just want to clarify that. But when you look at the case itself, it's a very simplistic design. They've not got any fancy things that they don't particularly need. The graphics card support is probably the only questionable addition, but what I mean is there's no RGB in there, there's no crazy fancy hubs controlling lights all over the cases, there's not fans all over the place. That we could have had fan mounts down here pointing upwards. They've kept it all simple yet effective. But how effective is it? Because really what we need to do is look at the performance numbers and see if all the hard work that they've put into it have made sense. So on to performance. Now what we do is, or what I do is, my CPU fan is actually limited by a fan speed reducer wired direct straight into SATA with a voltage reducer on it. It's a 9-volt one, and that's so only the case can change my CPU temps. Graphics card we fixed to 60%, again because then it's only the case that can change the temps. And yes, it might be slightly older kit, but at the end of the day what we do need to remember is we're testing a case here, not sort of the not performance, so we want to know performance numbers. And it does mean that we can compare it to other cases like the Fractal Torrent, for example, and I haven't got to go back and build a rig to make sure the components are identical, because that's the other thing, is all of the results in that graph have all had this exact same test kit in there. There isn't a different graphics card, there isn't a slightly different CPU cooler, it's all been identical. So it's performed incredibly well. Set at 1000 RPM, and that's our baseline temperature where we put, and we don't do separate tests as well. Some people do just a gaming test and then that's it. We do an OCCT specific test just on the CPU, and then we do game runs just on the graphics card so that we can compare the results, because we'd rather stress one out individually, and that's why our graphs are separated out as well. Now on the 1000 RPM, it topped the graphs for the graphics card without a problem at all. It did it as well for the CPU test, which I was very, very shocked by, because that it takes a lot for the CPU to really come down nice and low. The eye-opening one though was the maximum test. So we had 1600 RPM on the 140s and 1200 RPM on the 180s. Weirdly, for both of those results, it fell into second place rather than first, but there was such a small tolerance between the top of the place result. You'll see it's very, very close. It's probably an RPM thing, if I'm completely honest, because we got slightly lower RPM with those 180s. But I think it's done very, very well. It's effectively, it's a no frills, high airflow, air-cooled case. Obviously you can still fit an AIO in the roof, but I don't think personally that this is a case for someone that wants to fill it full of custom water cooling. Sure, you can do, but I think you're missing the point if you do, especially once you start water cooling your graphics card and stuff, because the whole point in this ramp section is to keep your graphics card cool. And it does it very, very well. I think HAVN are going to be a headache for the big manufacturers, because the quality of the build and the design that they are putting out just in their first two cases is a big eye-opener. It actually goes to show, I think, that they're a force to be reckoned with, and they're incredibly passionate about what they do. Obviously it's a new company, which probably means it's not a massive company either, and I think the fact that it might be a smaller footprint is really working in their favour compared to some of the big publicly owned stock market, too many board members companies out there. Because at the end of the day, they've done this pretty quickly, they've done it very well, it performs outstandingly, and I think the only thing that people could say really in the grand scheme of things is that there might not be enough glass for some of the people that like the modern aesthetic of maybe a wraparound or multiple glass panels. But if you're looking for a slick, high-performing, quiet airflow case, then you're going to struggle to find one that's going to beat this. I think it's an outstanding case to come from HAVN yet again, and I'm actually torn between giving it a performance award or the enthusiast award, because I genuinely think it's both. We normally save the enthusiast award for crazy expensive cases, and that's not this, although it is slightly more expensive than it may have been if it had come from another brand. But I think if it had come from another brand, you probably would have had a very plastic front section rather than this, the actual metal curved version of this. Like if it had been any of the other big brands on the market that I've sort of hinted about already, this definitely would have been plastic. And it is just built so very, very well. So I think it's one of those ones where you get what you pay for with this. I also think that unless you already have spent an awful lot of money on 140mm fans and you've got everything ready to go into this, I do think it's worth buying the Flow model as well, and then just chucking your AIO in the roof. Obviously, if you do have an AIO and you want to change the fans so that they match, you can get the H12, the H14 and the H18 available separately. But it's an absolute cracker of a case. And I'm really, really excited to see what HAVN bring next, because they've got 2 cases now. I think it's time for them to start attacking cooling.